What is up, everybody? It's your boy J Raj, and this is the 2020 Visions podcast. We're here with episode 5, baby, and we're going to keep this thing rolling, just like I said before. Today, we got a few things to discuss. Today, we're going to be discussing Sentry and his potential roles in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. We're also going to be discussing some of my favorite movie and show projects of 2025, along with me hashing out a little more detail into a theory I have about the former Avengers Tower. And towards the end, we're going to have an awesome comic book overview that features a couple of key Xmen characters. Then following that, we're going to have some WWE news and just a little more extra conversations. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is me just kind of hashing out a little more a theory that I had spoke about last week. And that theory was regarding the Avengers, or former Avengers Tower, we should say. Because we know that in the Thunderbolts movie, it's revealed that that's their new place where they're having their operations led by Valentina de Allegra Fontaine, I think is her name. So my theory I talked about last week, it was supported by the Dark Avengers, Dark Reign comic stories. And basically in those comics, it talks about a group of reformed Thunderbolts, which is basically the Avengers. They get replaced by a group of supervillains, and it calls them the reformed Thunderbolts. And to the public eye, they try to look good. They try to look like they really have everybody's best interest in mind. But in reality, they're under the leadership of Norman Osborn. And so I was talking about how that's been a plot hole in the MCU, is nobody really knows who's taken over the old Avengers Tower since it was sold. So what I'm going to hash out about that in a little more detail is that Valentina, she is the head of the CIA. So she's technically a political figure. And in these MCU stories, you can definitely see it in Daredevil, and you can see it in other movies as well, that anywhere where there's a politician, there's going to be somebody with deep pockets that's in the politician's head, controlling them like a puppet. So somebody on TikTok claimed that Valentina had bought out the Avengers Tower. And I don't think it's black and white like that. Maybe on paper, on a deed, her name is on there. But in reality, if you look at Daredevil, the original show, Daredevil Born Again, they might have a company that a certain name is on the deed, but that company is owned by a parent company, which that parent company is owned by another parent company, and it kind of goes into that gray area where we're kind of living in a privatized government. They call it a democracy, but in reality, these big private corporations and the money and the power that they have, they're in these politicians' pockets, and they're the ones that are controlling the decisions. So that was my thinking behind that, and it hasn't been just flat out revealed who has bought Avengers Tower. And, it's been revealed that Harry Osbourne, we have Joe Keery playing him in Spider-Man Brand New Day. There has to be a Norman in that. And so I'm going to just read about something in Thunderbolts. Is the beginning of Thunderbolts, Val sent Yelena to destroy a secret research facility in Malaysia. And that research facility, she says, is named O.X.E Kuala Lumpur Research Facility. And she was sending Val to blow the place up, to destroy any evidence that she was involved in the secret research done there, because they were doing Project Sentry there. And because she was a politician, if she was to get caught being tied to that, she would get in major trouble. But yeah, it's called O.X.E Kuala Lumpur Research Facility. And O.X.E, it's an acronym, O.X.E. So I did some research and things, and I saw some people on Reddit. They're also kind of on the same page as me, thinking that what does O.X.E stand for? So there were some people, and I think this kind of makes sense, thinking that O.X.E could stand for Oscorp Xenochemistry Enterprises. So, I mean, we haven't seen Oscorp in the U.S., but could it be possible that Oscorp was over this research facility in Malaysia, and now that that research facility is burned down, that might be why we're starting to get the Osbourne family on screen, starting with Spider-Man Brand New Day. And some of the Reddit feeds, it's from like 8 or 9 months ago when Thunderbolts came out. People were like, oh, it's probably too good to be true because Sony, they don't let Marvel, the MCU, use the Spider-Man characters. And Oscorp, Norman Osborn are technically Spider-Man characters. But as I said last week, there's reports that Sony has now opened themselves up and let Marvel know that they're okay with them using the Spider-Man characters now. So that completely makes this a possibility. And it's revealed that Sentry has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. It's unexplainable how powerful he is. And it's clear in the Thunderbolts that Val is intimidated by this too. So think about this. If Norman Osborn was even just part of the research in Malaysia, in that research facility that was burned down, and he gets the wind that his research contributed to someone as powerful as 1,000,000 exploding suns, do you not think that he's going to want to come to New York? And I think he would. But that's the thing is I feel like his company is controlling Val, but on paper it's saying that Val owns the Avengers Tower. But nah, it's Norman pulling the strings. And that's the thing. You got somebody like Sentry who loses control of their mental state and just gets out of control. Who better than the man who is the Green Goblin to take a leadership role over the Sentry and try to mentor him? But we know he's really going to be using him. But mentor him. Who better than Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin himself? So with that being said, though, we're going to dive into a little more detail about Sentry and some powers that he has that I think is going to play a major part in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So when it comes to Sentry's powers, like I said, in the Thunderbolts movie, they say that he has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. But it's very clear that they really don't have an understanding of how powerful the dude is. Before I get started, though, I just want to applaud the character design for Sentry, because almost every comic book panel that has this dude in it, it is just like stands out like a lot more than a lot of the other stuff that is in Marvel Comics. So kudos to his character design. This picture right here is sick. But yeah, back to the 1,000,000 exploding suns. I really don't think that they understand how powerful this dude is. So, and speaking of Avengers, we're going to talk about Secret Wars, specifically the 2015 comic line. So in the 2015 comic line, Dr. Doom, he uses the Molecule Man, Owen Reese, to hold multiple realities together using Owen Reese's molecular manipulation powers. So Dr. Doom, he gets the power of the Beyonder to save parts of different universes, and then he basically has the Molecule Man, Owen Reese, enslaved, forcing him to hold all these pieces of universes all together, and they call it molecular manipulation. So something about Sentry, though, as I was reading the Dark Avengers storyline, during the Siege storyline part of it, he ends up having a run-in with Molecule Man, and he tears him apart on a molecular level, and it's revealed that Sentry has molecular manipulation powers that exceed the Molecule Man's. The dude can do so much. So I believe that the Fantastic Four ship that shows up in the Thunderbolts post credits, I believe that Doctor Doom is riding in there with the Fantastic Four. And I think he gets wind of how powerful Sentry is. And maybe Sentry is the stand-in for the Molecule Man. Because I had seen some supposed set photos from the Fantastic Four movie. And there was a dude that, like an older dude, and a lot of people were thinking that's the Molecule Man. That's what everybody online was saying. Well, eventually, I guess they cut that guy out of the movie because he was not even in the movie. I think he was originally supposed to be Molecule Man, and then they just did away with it. So my thinking is Sentry is the stand-in for the Molecule Man, and Doom is somehow going to try to use the Sentry's powers to hold all the realities together that are saved. And we know there's going to be some major battles. Who knows what realities are going to be saved? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming maybe some of the ones from the leaked trailers, those realities, but you never know. But Sentry is going to be a game changer. And I think it seems like he's pretty easily manipulated and used in the comics because of his mental state. People always offer to help him. So he's very much just willing to follow whoever because he's desperate for help. And I think that Doom is going to manipulate him, but maybe in the end, Sentry is like, no, dude, like, I see what you're doing now. And then I don't know. I feel like Sentry could maybe beat Doom. I don't know. Probably not. Because Doom can play with his head, probably. We'll see. Because here's the thing, and I saw a video talking about this today. The Russo brothers, they are not comic book nerds. Like, they're fans of the superhero movies and stuff, but they don't pull directly from the comics. So, like, who really knows what they're going to do? But I think that he could definitely be a stand-in for the Molecule Man. Don't quote me on the fact that I think Sentry could kill Doom. That's probably inaccurate. So I'm still a pupil when it comes to the comic books. But anyway, we're going to move on from this section, and we're going to move towards my favorite movie/show projects of 2025. Before we start discussing some of my favorite movie and show projects that I watched for the first time in 2025, we got to talk about what's to come in 2026, baby. It's a new year, and we got an action-packed year in the theaters. So especially with the Super Bowl coming up, we got some stuff to talk about with that. We got to assume that there's going to be some really sick trailers going to be dropping. There always is. And it was leaked that there's going to be a few different big trailers during Super Bowl weekend dropping. And a few of those movies that are supposed to have trailers drop on Super Bowl Sunday is Toy Story 5. I love Toy Story. Minions 3. The Mario Galaxy movie. Mandalorian and Grogu. Avengers Doomsday, and Spider-Man Brand New Day. So that is pretty hype. I'm a fan of pretty much all of those, except I've never seen the Minions movies. Don't hate me for that. But I'm a Toy Story fan for sure. Like, that's one of my favorite movies ever. I love more than just comic book movies. But also, I wonder, like, what more they're going to show on the supposed new Avengers Doomsday trailer and the new Spider-Man Brand New Day, the first trailer for that. I wonder what they're going to show. That's going to give us a lot more to talk about in the future. So we got so much to be excited about, and we'll just see what it has in store. Super Bowl Sunday. It's going to be fun. But to dive into the year of 2025, what a great year it was. 2025, so great, so big, so awesome. We're going to talk about me and the fact that I haven't seen movies that almost everybody else has seen. So I watched a ton of stuff in 2025 that has been out for a while, to be honest. And we're going to talk about that. So this is going to be a top 5 list, and including a few honorable mentions for movies and shows that I watched for the first time in 2025. that doesn't necessarily mean that they came out in 2025. So to get this thing started, we're going to show off some honorable mentions. So my first honorable mention, it is none other than the first Alien versus Predator movie. So I love what they do with these. They're very eerie, suspenseful, full of action. And I think what's even cooler is that they establish a shared universe to these two iconic monsters. And even with some newer stuff that's dropped not long ago, they're still adding to the shared universe. And I think it's really cool because Marvel and DC don't have to be the only ones that have shared universes. And that's what Alien vs. Predator has been laying down for a while, and they're starting to lay it down even more. And what was also cool is my dad is the one that told me I should watch this. And when we watched it, I don't remember the specific day it is, but the dates, like it shows the date of the events that happened on that movie. And it was literally on the same day that we were watching it. And that was just a completely random coincidence. But it was kind of cool, so it made it a little more memorable. And I thought the movie was a fun watch. So my other honorable mention is a Netflix show that did drop towards the end of 2025, and that is The Abandons. So this show, it gives off some old Western kind of Red Dead Redemption vibes with family rivalries in the Wild West. And that's just an entertaining thing. I love like hearing Wild West stories. I love hearing songs that talk about the Wild West, like Marty Robbins. I love listening to him. And this just really dives into that kind of thing and is very entertaining, very dramatic, very cinematic, like with the videography on it, and good watch right there. So I recommend that for sure. My next honorable mention, and I know this is crazy because I'm literally out here talking about comic book movies. I just watched WandaVision a few months ago. I've always heard like about it, but I was thinking I don't know about it. Like it looks like some old 40s reality show, but the way they set that up when you actually watch it is so cool, and it lets you see how powerful Wanda is, or we'll call her the Scarlet Witch, and also Vision. Like that dude's a freaking beast himself. And it also kind of shows that she was able to make children just by thinking of it in a reality, but even when she's not part of that reality, those kids still exist. I wonder if Doom might go after those kids. I think it's Wiccan, and I forget the other's name, but they're probably like pretty powerful. I'm pretty sure they are very powerful. And this just really shows Wanda's just reality altering powers, and it makes you wonder, will she come back for Doomsday or Secret Wars and maybe be a thorn in the side of Doctor Doom? That was a great watch. I think I might have one more honorable mention. Okay, no, I'm wrong. Okay, this is number 5. So this came out a few years ago. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. And so one thing I love about this is the art. It kind of gives off Spider-Verse vibes with the way that they did the art. Seems like it was heavily influenced by that. Who knows? Maybe it was some of the same people that did the animations. I'm not really sure. But the story is sick, and the villain, the Fly, like he is so cool. And he's like talking about how they're his half brothers and everything. I don't know. The villain is so cool on here. And I love a movie with a good villain. This movie was just a fun watch and highly recommend it. I think I found it also in the $5 bin at Walmart. So if you ever want to watch it, hey, it's pretty cheap at the store. So number 4 on my list is Alien Earth. And this goes back to what I'm talking about with the Alien franchise. They're establishing a shared universe. So, you know, in all of the Alien movies, they reference the company, the Weyland-Yutani company. And this actually shows more focus on a rival company to the Weyland-Yutani company. And it's, sorry, my chin was messing me up. It really dives into the synthetics, because the synthetics play a big part in the Alien movies. And, I mean, obviously the Xenomorph is in it, and he's freaking vicious. I don't know if it's a he or her, or we can just call it, but, or, anyway. It's very vicious, very scary. You have a cyborg on there who I'm like, dude, he needs to be casted for Marvel, because I think, to me, the cyborg dude, I forget his name, he is the highlight of this show. Like, he is sick. The way he plugs himself up to machines and you can see his eyes lighten up, it is so cool. Like, his character design. I'm talking about Sentry on the comics. Well, the cyborg on Alien Earth, his character design is freaking sick. So, with that being said, I think this is number 3 now. I know I could have watched this a few years ago or 2 years ago or whatever, but this is Fallout Season 1. I was a big fan of Fallout New Vegas, and I play Fallout 4 some. So they do such a good job, like Bethesda Studios. They include so many callbacks to the games, like even with just the foods and the drinks and just the lore. They really handle it very well in this Fallout show. And I just got to say, the Ghoul, that's my dude. And I don't know who's watching season 2 of Fallout, but my dude, the Ghoul, needs some justice. We'll see what happens. I hope he actually finds his family, and hopefully he does not get shunned by them, because that would be such a sad scene. Sorry if that's any kind of spoiler. I don't think that was a spoiler. But anyway, the Ghoul, I think it was in the season finale, he has this sick scene. It reminded me of Batman. All the lights go out and he is just messing everybody up. So number 3 is Fallout Season 1. Number 2, this is a remake of a very old Western movie, apparently. I've never seen the original, but this is from 2016. It's called The Magnificent Seven. It also, similar to The Abandons, it gives off major Wild West vibes, similar to Red Dead Redemption. And I think that's why I love it so much, because Red Dead Redemption is like my favorite game. The second one is my favorite game of all time, and this reminds me of it. You have a star-studded cast: Denzel, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio, the dude that plays Kingpin, is in it. I like his character too. And it's kind of about like a mining town, and basically this rich man comes in and he threatens everybody that if they don't sell their land, that he's going to bring destruction to their town. So they kind of have to stand up and find some people that can help them defend themselves. It's a very good story, and I highly recommend it. And then number 1, my boy Matt Murdock, Daredevil Born Again, which did drop in 2025. Basically a continuation from the Netflix series. It shows Matt and the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, back at it with their tense rivalry. And just the first episode, it starts off with a bang, with Bullseye, getting rid of some key character. I'm not going to say who, but it's very sad, and it gets you very invested from the start. I'm looking forward to seeing all them. I'm looking forward to seeing Bullseye again, the Punisher, and I'm loving how they're even acknowledging Spider-Man in this. It makes you wonder about Spider-Man Brand New Day. But anyway, that is my list of the things that I watched for the first time in 2025. And I plan on watching so much more stuff in 2026 for sure. But here's the thing. You know what's crazy though? Is I've not checked the ratings on Rotten Tomato for the movies that I like. But I just know there are some other things that I've looked up on Rotten Tomatoes and I'm like, what? How are you going to give that a 5? I enjoyed that. And with that being said, I want to talk about something that I just got to get off my chest. Not every movie that people likes has to be a cinematic masterpiece. Like, you don't get the privilege to judge me for my movie taste or my taste in shows. If I have a bad day at work, or if I just have a bad day and I want to wind down by watching Spider-Man 3 and seeing Tobey Maguire dancing and talking about fixing a dang door, I can do it. If I want to sit down and watch Napoleon Dynamite, watching him stuff tater tots in his pocket, I can do it. Rotten Tomatoes might tell you, oh, that's a 5, don't watch it. But let me tell you this. When you're listening to music, are you sitting there judging every note? Are you sitting there judging the whole song and note by note just how good it is? Because I feel like the people who are judging music like that, they probably listen to opera, or they're probably a marching band judge or something. Because that's the thing. I can listen to a song which is supposed to be similar effect to the movies, getting away from reality. Just, it's about storytelling, or it's about just how it makes you feel. I think it's more about how it makes you feel. I can go listen to a song that's talking millions of peaches, peaches for me, millions of peaches, peaches for free. Or I can listen to a song that's talking about on a cobweb afternoon, talking about cobweb afternoons, bro. I can listen to all that. And you can't judge me for that, because it's about how it makes you feel. And I feel pretty good when I'm listening to those songs. And I know I get a good laugh out of some of these movies that might not be cinematic masterpieces. You don't listen to mumble rap for the plot. We both know that. So we're free to like what movies we like. We're free to like what shows we like. And that's just how it is, because the Raj said so. I just had to get that off my chest. But with that being said, we're going to go into our comic book overview for the day. And that comic book, it's going to be featuring 2 characters that I hope become key players in the X-Men mutant saga in the MCU. And those 2 are Sabretooth and Mystique. In 1997, those 2 were involved in X Factor. They were part of the group X Factor. And, you know, really you can't cage an animal like Sabretooth. Mystique, she kind of walks the line both ways at times. But Sabretooth, that dude can't be controlled. He can't be calmed down. But when he was in X Factor, they made him wear a collar that would shock him and take away his healing factor. And that was to basically make him behave. So it's revealed that these 2, they get wind of something that has to do with a conflict in their past, both of them. And they end up faking their death. And then they go on this journey that we're about to talk about right here. So it starts off, it shows Sabretooth and Mystique sneaking into a shield helicarrier. The shield helicarrier, I should say. And they find a dead body. And they were told by someone, it's not revealed by who, that a hard drive was swallowed by this dead man before he died. Obviously, whatever's on it, he's trying to hide. So they end up going in the helicarrier, getting to this body, getting the hard drive out of this dude's body. And then in this panel, you can see Mystique had transformed into some sort of gargoyle to fly them down from the helicarrier. So it then just kind of goes to show them together talking about their past and how they used to do covert missions together. And what they got wind about that was on this flash drive was that a man named Catalyst. And Catalyst basically was a Hydra agent that did experiments on Sabretooth and Mystique. And apparently in Mystique's past, she was very close with someone named Destiny, who was also a mutant. And Destiny's powers were that she could supposedly see the future, and she would have visions of the future. And this shows Sabretooth and Mystique talking about that. Sabretooth is saying, come on, Catalyst is dead. But then they end up figuring out he's not dead. But they have some flashbacks to when Catalyst was basically torturing Sabretooth. And then it goes on to show him torturing Mystique's friend Destiny that she talks about from her past. And you see Destiny makes a promise before she is murdered by Catalyst that she sees a vision that her face is the last face Catalyst will ever see. So it basically talks about Sabretooth and Mystique. They show up to this Hydra base that there were coordinates on this flash drive leading them to this Hydra base. And they run into these agents called AIM. They're not associated with Hydra. They're also there for some funny business. AIM is there before Sabretooth and Mystique get there. So some major fights ensue. And it shows Sabretooth just really clawing at people. Mystique always makes comments about how vicious he is and how, he kind of needs to calm down some. So it then shows a really cool panel where Mystique transforms into the Thing and she's fighting as the Thing, which is very cool to see. I love the art in this time period in comics. They're trying to fight off these AIM soldiers. And, they got their back and forth dialogue. Basically, Mystique is telling Sabretooth that he better not cross her. Sabretooth is saying the same thing to Mystique because that's just their character. They both cross each other a lot and they cross other people a lot. So it ends up going to show that as they're fighting, Sabretooth falls off of a cliff. He wasn't fighting Mystique. He was fighting the AIM agents. He falls off of a cliff into piranha-infested waters along with some other AIM agents that he had pulled in with him. And in the meantime, Mystique had made her way into the base and she disguised herself as a Hydra person because there were Hydra guards that they also had to fight. So she disguised herself as a Hydra guard and she ends up saying, "Here goes nothing. I was searching for reinforcements. Our forces are losing ground to the AIM invaders. You're needed outside to..." And then Catalyst, he knows that that's not how they talk. And he says, "That is an improper response." And he basically knocks out Mystique. So the comic flashes to Sabretooth struggling in this piranha-infested waters while these agents are still trying to fight him. And these actually are Hydra agents that fell in with them, not AIM agents. But he's fighting, and he ends up getting his way out, and he's climbing back up the cliff, and he basically makes a point to say that he can't smell Mystique's scent, that she must already be in the base. So he gets up in there, he climbs up, and he finds that Catalyst already has Mystique knocked out and in some tank. He's getting ready to do experiments on her because he says that her transforming powers are like none he has ever seen. So he wants to try to harness that power and do even more experiments on her than he's ever done on anybody. So Sabretooth comes in there. It shows that a bullet ends up hitting the tank that Mystique was in and lets her free. But as Sabretooth and Mystique are doing their thing, this agent from AIM shows up. And it says that her name is Cypher. And she basically is trying to tap into Hydra's systems and cause a nuclear war between Hydra and a bunch of other countries. And that AIM is going to use the chaos between different countries and capitalize and, you know, do all the sketchy government stuff. Her goal, she's not working with Hydra. Her goal is to cause chaos between nations. And it's an inside job where she's using all these countries like a puppet. So she confronts Sabretooth and Mystique. And in the meantime, Sabretooth realizes that Catalyst is getting away. Once Catalyst is revealed to be alive, Sabretooth wants nothing more than to be the one to kill him. And him and Mystique, it shows them arguing who gets to do the honors of killing Catalyst. I mean, he was part of a very harsh time for them when they were having experiments done on them when they were younger. So it shows them trying to fight through some of the AIM guards together. And then next thing you know, Sabretooth gets one-on-one with Cypher, the head lady over those AIM soldiers. And she makes a proposition to him. She says, she basically tells him that he's vicious, that he shouldn't really care whose lives get destroyed or not because he's a savage already. She tries to basically manipulate him into letting it happen, letting her hack into the system to cause a nuclear war between all these nations. And Sabretooth actually decides not to. And I think that that's a testament to how much he wanted to get revenge on Catalyst. He didn't let himself get distracted by this lady. Even though he loves chaos and he loves violence, he knew that he was there to get revenge, and that revenge was driving him to get to Catalyst. He wasn't worried about Cypher, this lady here that's basically a cyborg. So they get into a big fight. And then it shows that Mystique had actually caught up to Catalyst outside near the same cliff that Sabretooth had fell off of. He only survived because of his healing powers and his regeneration powers. So it shows Mystique transform into her old friend Destiny, who had the vision that she would be the last person Catalyst would see before he dies. So Mystique transforms into Destiny. Catalyst is in shock because he remembers the vision Destiny told him she had. And because he's in shock, he falls backwards into the piranha waters, and he's eaten alive by piranhas. So at the end, Sabretooth is kind of upset because Mystique didn't let him be the one to finish Catalyst off. So it's then revealed that secretly Mystique had poisoned Sabretooth because she wanted to make sure that he would return back to X Factor. And she said basically that if he returned back to X Factor, that he could have the inhibitor collar taken off of him and he could be healed from how he had been poisoned. Because the whole comic, he kept saying he's not going back to X Factor. He's not going back there. Because they're going to try to see the good in him. He wants to just go ham on everybody, go wild, cause chaos, wreak havoc. But Mystique tricks Sabretooth in the end to where he has to go back to X Factor with her. So I found this to be a great read. I love the art of this period of comics. And I just hope that the MCU does it right with their storytelling for the mutants. They can do some really deep cuts. Like, it doesn't always have to be about Wolverine. I mean, you can show the background for some other people too. And Mystique, she was cool in the old X-Men movies. I know she's supposed to be in Avengers Doomsday, so maybe we'll get to see like just some really cool action scenes because she's sick. Like, she can do some crazy stuff. And that's another reason I wanted to go over this comic, is to show how many family ties there are with the X-Men. Because it references Mystique and Sabretooth's past together. And as I did my research, it turns out the time that they were agents together before they got caught by Catalyst, Mystique had a baby with Sabretooth. I mean, it was sketchy circumstances. She was disguised as some other woman, but Sabretooth and Mystique have a baby together. So that's a tie in the X-Men. The Summers family alone, Cyclops and Jean Grey's family, that's some complex stuff. And there's other ties I never knew about. For instance, Cable, which is Cyclops' son with Jean Grey's clone. Some weird stuff. Cable has his own clone named Strife, and he basically travels through dimensions trying to get to Cable. I don't know that much about his character. You also got Charles Xavier is the brother to Juggernaut, the half-brother. He's also brother to Cassandra Nova, who was in Deadpool and Wolverine. Cyclops also has a dad who's like I don't really know much about his dad. But like X-Men, it's very much about family. Like, the people are tied together without you realizing. And in this comic, we had two people tied together, Sabretooth and Mystique, which I never even knew that until like this week. So that was cool to read about. But I hope that y'all enjoyed the comic book overview for the day, for sure. So we're going to move on to some WWE news. There's a few things going on soon. For instance, the Royal Rumble is coming up in a few weeks. Saturday night's main event is coming up this Saturday. And we're going to talk about a few things with that. So on Saturday night's main event, there's a few matches already announced. And one of the big ones that I think will be great and I'm really excited for, basically there was a tournament to see who could be next to face Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble. The last four left in this tournament has been Damian Priest, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, and your boy Trick Williams, baby. So I think that this is going to be super entertaining. When I look at this, I feel like Damian Priest definitely doesn't need a win because we've seen Damian Priest and Drew face like a billion times. That was getting real stale. Drew and Randy Orton, they always put on pretty good matches, so I wouldn't mind if Randy Orton won this and faced Drew at the Royal Rumble. But then there's Sami Zayn. I personally have an opinion about, like, I think WWE is going to have Sami win the Royal Rumble match. So for him to win this and face Drew in that same night, I don't see that happening. And then Trick Williams. I don't think you can really go wrong with giving young talent such a big opportunity because he has the crowd under his finger. Like, he can do whatever he wants. The crowd's going to cheer him regardless, and that's rare. That's rare in WWE. I mean, notable ones like Stone Cold. I mean, you got The Rock. LA Knight's one of the newer guys like that. I mean, he can basically do whatever he wants and get cheered regardless. Well, that's Trick Williams, and that doesn't come around very often. So I don't think that they can lose by capitalizing and giving this dude a championship match within the first month or so that he's been called up. So my picks would either be Trick Williams or Randy Orton for that, personally. I hope they don't do Sami Zayn or Damian Priest, but that's just me personally. Sami Zayn matches, if you watch a match of him against one person and him against another, the match is going to be the exact same. He hits the same spots every match. It kind of gets old. I mean, he's a good wrestler, but he's very predictable with what happens on the screen with him. So I'd rather Trick Williams or Randy Orton because Trick Williams, new talent. Randy Orton be hitting that RKO out of nowhere. So it's very unpredictable with them two. But another match that has been announced is Jacob Fatu versus Cody Rhodes. And Jacob Fatu, he made a surprise return recently, and he not only had attacked Drew McIntyre, but then he started attacking Cody Rhodes, which is how Drew ended up winning the championship. Because Jacob Fatu thinks that Drew McIntyre tried to run over him with a car. Something like that. But Drew swears up and down it wasn't him. So I think the plot thickens with that. And Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu, that's money, baby. That's going to be a great match. I guarantee it. We'll just have to see what happens with that. And also, I was going to talk about a couple things that happened on Monday Night Raw tonight because I'm recording on Monday. Which really stinks because I literally just talked about this dude last week and how he's one of the crazy, talented young dudes that just came up from NXT. And that's Javon Evans. Apparently, he was having a match against El Grande Americano, or I think it was like a tag match or something, but he had an injury tonight, and it looked pretty serious, and it doesn't seem like it's a work. I hate how that happens, like people that just come up, like Finn Balor, when he first came up from NXT, he gets injured in his WWE Universal Championship match, finishes the match, but then has to relinquish like the next day or so. Like, why is it that some of the most promising guys end up getting injuries so soon? I hate that for Javon Evans, but I'm hoping for a fast recovery with him. And something I really want to focus on is a promo between Gunther and AJ Styles. Gunther has been really taunting AJ. Gunther, ever since he retired Cena, he's been on like another level with his trolling. So him and AJ had a face-to-face tonight. And AJ told him to name it. Like, name what he wants. And Gunther let AJ know that he wants to face him at the Royal Rumble. And that if Gunther beats AJ, AJ has to retire from the WWE. And I hope this happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. AJ Styles is not going to back down from a fight, I don't think. But you could tell he was scared. And that's the thing. Gunther, this past year, he retired Goldberg. He beat Goldberg in a retirement match. He beat John Cena, which I wanted him to beat John Cena because Gunther is like one of the best wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. But the way he beat Cena, why did Cena tap out? He could have just passed out. I would have talked about this if I had my podcast like at the time. Cena should have passed out. His retirement match was kind of just trashy. I mean, Gunther just hit a bunch of clotheslines. Cena was obviously wanting a safe match, which I get because he's so involved in the movies, but he should have passed out and at least he can live on that never give up gimmick, But that's not what happened, so they kind of fumbled that. But Gunther is now eyeballing AJ Styles. Is Gunther the new legend killer? Because I'm thinking so. And I have reason to believe this because AJ Styles, he arguably had an even bigger run than WWE when he was in TNA. He's one of the main guys TNA has ever had. He is a legend over there, just like in WWE. But especially in TNA, AJ Styles is a legend. And there's been rumors like with TNA and WWE kind of having a new partnership now. I've been hearing for a while AJ Styles is going to end up going to TNA, or that's kind of what the fans have hoped for, and have a run with TNA again. Because we know he's retiring this year. He's already announced it. So I think that even if Gunther wins this match and AJ retires from the WWE, he's going to pop up in TNA and have a nice send-off over there. People are going to just love it. And AJ Francis, the guy that was top dollar in WWE, he's a TNA wrestler now. And literally this past week, he hit a Styles Clash in one of his matches to win. And he posted about it and put in the caption that he is the best AJ in TNA history. So when I saw that, I was like, they got to be planting some seeds for him against AJ Styles or something. And sure enough, with Gunther calling AJ out for his career, it just makes even more sense that he's going to go to TNA and have a nice run there. So that's what's going on with WWE. I'm really excited for this Saturday. Real excited for the Royal Rumble. It's usually around my birthday. It's always a lot of fun to watch. And in the future, we're going to talk about in more detail who we think the top contenders can be to win the Royal Rumble when it comes around. So, one final thing I'm going to mention before finishing this thing up is that I know my first episode, or it might have been my second, I mentioned how I want to have this channel focused on comics, movies, shows, some WWE, and also probably some cryptids. I'm like a big, I don't know, I'm just very much into that space of believing that there's more out there than we can even know. I mean, there's such small percentages of the ocean that have really been explored. If you look at the rainforests, only about like a super small percentage of the species have truly been like discovered in the rainforest. I feel like there's a lot of mysterious things that can be out there, and I personally have had experiences with things that I don't think I can explain. So I have always just had a passion for like looking into that stuff and doing research when it comes to like Bigfoot or aliens, Mothman, Lizard Man, Loch Ness Monster, like all that stuff. I think that there can be some truth in it because there's stories from generation to generation for centuries that all resemble. So why is that? So I just want to make this announcement that soon we're going to be having what I'm going to call some cryptid conversations. And it's funny because I literally did a whole research paper on cryptozoology. One little fact, did you know that Komodo dragons used to be considered cryptids until about 70 years ago? But that's a known species now. Everybody accepts that the Komodo dragon's real. Anyway, we're going to be having some cryptid conversations sometime soon. And it's going to be fun. And it could kind of dip its toe into conspiracy type things. And just like that kind of space. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really exciting. And I'm looking forward to y'all tuning in and seeing that and taking part in that. And I want to start a thing where if anybody has had any weird experiences, like thinking they've ever saw something or heard something or heard stories from their grandparents or anything like that, like just feel free to reach out. And I would love to even discuss stuff that y'all have been through when it comes to like the mysterious things that you believe to exist out in the world. Anyway, I'm going to be wrapping this thing up, and this was the 2020 Visions podcast. I'm J. Raj, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit RKO to that subscribe button. And then, what other finisher is there? Hit a F5 on the like button as well. So I hope y'all have a good week. See you next week.